Performance of the night. Now let's start with fight of the night. No brainer. Lawler versus McDonald might be the fight of the ever. Performance of the night went to Almeida and McGregor. So everybody won $50,000. Congrats to them. Who has the first question?
Dana, just start with you. Obviously, a fantastic event in terms of fights, but obviously a whole bunch of new production elements this evening, live walk-ins, which you've always kind of said you didn't like in the past, live music, that sort of thing. Out of everything that we saw that was new tonight, what was just a one-time only thing for tonight, and what is a change in the UFC moving forward? Yeah,
so we changed a lot of things for the, not just for the, the Reebok deal was today, and we had this big fight that we knew was trending to be massive. And, it was just like we were going to launch all this new stuff on the same night. From the show open to the live entrances, the uniforms, everything else. And even the fights, stylistically, the fights were great. Everything in theory and on paper seems great, but then you have to go out and execute, So we went out. I want to thank my staff and everybody. They worked really hard on this fight. And I think that they absolutely delivered. And then the fighters, as far as the main card goes, I think they over-delivered. So, tonight was just, I was telling you guys all week that this thing was trending bigger than anything we'd ever done. And then even tonight on social media, it crushed any fight we'd ever done on social media. There was a whole team here tonight, and they were all like celebrating in the back. And, it was a massive event, and everybody delivered. So, yeah, it feels good.
Obviously, we always ask you to matchmake. There is no matchmaking to do here. We know it's Conor and Jose Aldo next.
Right.
Early indications. Is there any thought? I know that you got to see how everybody heals up and that sort of thing. But any thoughts on when that could take place? Could a Dublin fight happen and do a stadium? Instead of the 3 arenas is now. What's the early indication?
No. There's a thing where we told Conor if Conor fought and beat Jose Aldo, we would let him defend at Croke Park, Ireland. So. When he and Jose Aldo fight, it'll be here in Las Vegas.
Fantastic.
As of right now. Anything could change, but as of right now, the fight's in Vegas.
Okay. Let him get settled for a second. I actually had a question for you, Matt. We were talking in a pre-fight interview about your idea of the demotion to the prelims and resetting your mind and resetting your career. Was this the fight tonight that you wanted to have? Do you feel that this was the performance that really will deliver you, back on track to the title shots?
Well, I do believe it was somewhat of a demotion that was deserved. Obviously, I lost 2 in a row, so I deserved it. But yeah, to me personally, this was sort of a coming out fight. This was me getting back on track. This was me getting back to where I almost got to before. Just how the UFC rebranded, I rebranded myself tonight. I rededicated myself to the sport, and I am coming for that title, 100%. I'm going to get that title, or I'm going to die trying.
And what were your thoughts on the Rory-Robbie fight?
Beautiful fight and amazing fight. Both those guys are fucking warriors from beginning to end, and I love it, and those are the kind of guys I want to fight. I fought Robbie once. I think me and Hendricks are the only guys to go the distance with Robbie, so I know that I can be at that level. I know that I can win that fight, and I know that a lot of people want to see that fight because that's going to be another war. And me and Robbie, every single time we get in the cage, it's going to be a war. So I absolutely 100% want it, and I'm going to do everything I can to get it.
Great, thank you. Conor, question for you. How does it feel to have answered the wrestler question?
It's been a long road here. The question never really bothered me, that question, I knew what I could do. I knew you cannot have a singular approach in this game. You must be free to fight in all forms. So I feel if it's a fight to the death between 2 men and there is no clock, takedown does not matter. It's the efficient fighter who will prevail. So I never really bothered about the question. My team knew what I was capable of. I knew when I hit him I would hurt him, and that was it.
Well, there were some rumors swirling before the fight that you may not have been 100% healthy now that it's over, now that you are victorious. Is there anything you can say about any injuries that were bothering you before the fight?
I'm just gonna let that be in the past, because there's no point in bringing anything up really in my mind. I just know that I had a hell of a lot more wrong with me than a bruised rib. And I still showed up. I prepared for this camp essentially in the physical therapist room. You know what I mean? So I had a lot to deal with this camp. On top of all the media, everybody here, I love every single one of you people here, all the media, I'm grateful for every single one of you, but I am absolutely sick to death of you. I have done so much of it. So, but I don't know. I'm overwhelmed by what's happening right now, so I'm just trying to, my mind is in a million different places.
And last question for you, as you were taunting Chad a lot during the fight, you had your hands very low. What can you tell us about his power and how threatened you felt, if ever, during the fight?
I didn't feel threatened. He's probably one of the hardest hitters. Beside me, I think he's probably number 2, heaviest hitter in the division. He's certainly the best wrestler in the division. But honestly, they try and find holes. They try and find questions that I have yet to answer. They try and find something that's going to break me. The weight cut, the wrestler, I don't know. There's always something, but I always prevail, and I am always confident that I can take whatever these people give. I can walk through everything, and he hit me 1 or 2 maybe, but I felt absolutely nothing. He cut me above the eye from bottom with a little elbow, but other than that, they were glancing blows, and I was speaking to him in there. I knew I was being efficient here, and when my chance arose, I was gonna crack him with every shot I had, and I felt the body really broke him down, and then we put him away with a shot to the chin.
Thank you and congratulations.
Conor, back here to your right. You talked about this moment being a UFC champion since you arrived in the UFC, even before that. Now that it's here, now that that belt is sitting in front of you, can you just express what you're feeling, what that moment was in the cage, to have your name announced, to have that belt wrapped around you?
You know, I didn't really think what way I was going to react. I didn't know what way I was going to react. But when I put him away and then I jumped on the cage, and then my coach was like right there on the cage with me, and I was just looking around at everything, it overwhelmed me, and I came to tears. You know, it has been a hell of a ride. 2 years, just over 2 years I'm here. I've already broke every single record in the game, and it does not come easy. Trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of work involved. It's not just about showing up at the gym. It's not just about that, you know, there's a lot involved. I haven't been home. I've been home 19 days this year. I've been constantly working, constantly promoting, constantly handling my media obligations, as well as keeping on top of my weight, as well as keeping on top of my skill level, as well as managing niggling injuries. Just, it's a crazy game. And, you know, I absolutely love it. I love this job. I love this game. I love this ride I'm on. And I am happy to have taken the gold. It would not matter if it was Jose or it was Chad. This was my belt. This was my night. Chad mauled Jose in their fight. I feel it was a back and forth, evenly fought fight, but I was never in any danger in that contest tonight, and I felt extremely confident. I spoke to him throughout every single exchange that it was nothing. You're against a different animal now.
With everything that you just said about not being home very often, everything that came with this, and still loving it, we asked Dana earlier, do you have a timeline? Do you have a when you'd like to do this with Jose?
You know, I will talk, you know. Right now, tonight I'm going to toast good business. And it was damn good business. I said I would KO him with inside 2 rounds. I put a friendly little wager with my business partners on, and I succeeded in that friendly wager. So I'm going to toast good business tonight. I'm going to head out. I'm going to celebrate with my country and with my team specifically. I want to give a shout out to my team that have been with me since day one. Everyone that's come up on this ride, and the people that came over to the Mac Mansion for 14 weeks out of their life and dedicated their whole life to me. And everyone that's been on this journey with me, we all stepped it up a notch here. So I honestly believe there is no such thing as self-made. I believe that is a term that does not exist. And for me, it certainly doesn't. The people who've been around me my whole career have helped shape this moment. And this night and this moment is for them. So we will celebrate tonight.
Connor, down here to your left. I know you said before you don't think that Jose Aldo's coming back and you think that he's running, but if he were to come back, do you think that a stadium is the only venue that could host that fight?
We know we could do a stadium, no problem, but we will see. I heard about the new Vegas arena that's opening up. When I make my way to the gym, I see this new big Vegas arena. It's like a 20,000 plus seater. It looks like a phenomenal arena. Maybe there we can do it. I don't know. I heard they are planning maybe Vegas for it, but we'll see. I'm open. The stadium show in Dublin will happen, make no mistake about that. But I'm going to put Jose at a distant memory right now because I don't think he deserves to be spoken about here. He didn't show up. This was the event that we built. He should have made that walk. And respect to Chad for making that walk and showing up. But in my opinion, Jose's done. If it comes back around, we'll discuss it then. But right now, this is my night. This is Ireland's night. This is Team Straight Blast Jim's night. My coach John, my family, everyone that's been with me. This is our night.
Also, do you talked about how much media you did leading up to this fight. Did you learn anything through this process or have any plans to change how you approach doing media for a fight the next time around?
You know, it's damn hard work. But then, and every time I say, you know what, fuck this. Next time I'm not doing all of this. And then I get handed the check. I'm like, all right then. I'll do it one more time.
Conor, this kind of seminal moments in Irish sport are quite often tied to the atmosphere. Can you just down here, could you just tell us about that moment where you turned around and pointed up to Sinead and you kind of seemed to stop and take it all in for a minute?
My God, that was some moment. I looked down and Sinead is surrounded by lights and smoke and she just points at me. And Sinead is an absolute legend, an Irish hero, a passionate, powerful, strong woman. And her voice sends chills through my spine anytime I listen to her. So to have her there singing live was an absolute honor. Even at the weigh-in, you know, I didn't really get to embrace what was actually happening at the weigh-in because I was cutting weight. And when I left the stage, I was like, man, I should have just taken my time a little bit on that stage because that was a phenomenal moment. And looking back at the pictures that I've seen from the weigh-ins, it was like something out of the Coliseum. This whole weekend has been unbelievable, and honestly, I am extremely grateful for every person that made a lot of sacrifice, saved up to make this trip, because this is a big expense to come out here to Las Vegas, and that's, you know, that to me, when Jose pulled and didn't mention nothing about the fans or nothing like that, and then start supporting Chad, and it was just they were weird little buddies, that left a bad taste in my mouth, you know. I couldn't do that. I showed up to fight. I respect the people that have sacrificed a lot of their money, their time to make this trip, to support the event. So it just hit me all at the end of the fight, and it just overwhelmed me, the support and the passion from the fans. I am forever grateful.
I'll take two more questions.
Hi, Connor and Dana, for the both of you, just right down in front, guys. Historically, boxing and MMA, heavyweights, or at least the heavier divisions, have traditionally been the biggest drawing divisions. Boxing's shifted lately, with you and Ronda now being maybe the two biggest pay-per-view draws in the company right now. I was just hoping to get maybe some perspective on the changing mindsets, maybe, if you will.
Yeah, I don't think weight has got to do with anything, you know. It just happened to be that the heavyweights there was a buzz in the heavyweight division, but the heavyweight division in the UFC right now is building steam. But right now I'm running the game. I have every record in the book, the gate, the pay-per-view. All the viewing figures on Fox, UFC Fight Pass, highest attended weigh-ins. I have every record right now, and at the end of the day, I'm still only 26 years of age. I am still very, very young in this game. So I feel myself and Ronda's an absolute machine. She's an animal. And I relate to Ronda a lot because I know the work she puts in media-wise and training-wise, and I look at her and I take a great inspiration from Ronda and her work ethic. I feel it's me and Ronda at the top of the game. And I'm honored, but there are many exciting fights and exciting names coming up. I mean, Robbie Lawler was phenomenal. That Robbie and Rory fight was absolutely phenomenal. I must pay my respect to that. Two absolute warriors took every shot and still came forward. I mean, this is what this sport is about. What a night of fighting, you know. So I'm just happy to close out the show on the sport that I love and introduce everyone that may have not seen it before, maybe a new audience. But this is our sport. This is the UFC, and this is as real as it gets.
Conor, tonight was about validation for you. Can you talk about the two defining moments of the fight? A, when you got up late in the second from that chokehold, it seemed like you may have said something to him, or at least gave him a look, and then also the devastating left to end the fight.
Yeah, you know, I felt I was hurting him on the feet early. I think I said to him right at the start, you know, because when we came, I have no ill feelings against Chad. The whole situation was weird to me because you throw in a guy that's 2 weeks out from a fight and it's a new guy, and then you have all his team talking all this kind of crazy stuff, and it was a weird situation, but I didn't really have any emotion towards Chad. It just happened to be what it was. So I felt like he was trying to sell the fight a little bit or build it up, but when we were coming to the weigh-in, I just wanted to go face to face. Let's just stand face to face and square off here. And he was bouncing around and clapping his hands, and Dana was separating us, and I said to Dana, I said, let us just come face to face. Let's stand here and look me in the eye. But it didn't happen. So we left the stage, and I was thinking in my head, you know, he's playing the game here. He thinks it's a game, but really, this is no game here. And tomorrow, I said to myself after the weigh-in, I says, tomorrow night, there will be no bouncing around. We're going to be face to face, and we'll see then. So when we came face to face, I said to him, I said, let's see who takes a back step now. Let's see who takes the first back step now. So I marched forward, and he took the first back step. And then that was the fight. Every shot he threw, I spoke to him. He has heavy shots. He's put people away, but I didn't feel nothing. I don't feel anything when these featherweights hit me. I feel like a concrete block. He secured 1 or 2 takedowns, but again, I knew the efficient man prevails in a fight to the death where there is no clock, no time limit. The man who is efficient is the man who prevails. So when I was on the mat, I was patient. I landed shots where I could. I stayed safe. He might have threw an overhand. He threw an elbow and split me on the eye. That was one. But then every other one was glancing. And every shot, I was like, That's what I kept saying. No. So I felt, I was preserving energy, being efficient, and then when the opportunity arose to go back to the feet, I attacked the gut. You know, them teeps to the gut, them side kicks to the gut. They don't look like much. To the naked eye, they don't look like much. Only me and him know about it. Only me and the opponent know about it. But they suck rounds out of you. So that's what happened. His body, he was searching for his gas tank, and I was stabbing him in the gas tank. And then the straight shots landed, the roundhouse, the spinning kicks. I felt the fight went exactly as I said it would, like they usually do.
Conor, that's your 5th TKO in 6 fights in the UFC. I'm just wondering how it actually makes you feel when you...
Who is that? That was the last question. He had the last question right here. I said 2 more.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. What's your question? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Conor. It's your 5th TKO in 6 fights in the UFC. I'm wondering how it makes you feel when you actually knock out an opponent.
It's a night. It feels good. You know, I don't take joy from inflicting pain on someone, but I definitely take satisfaction that the shots that I'm visualizing in my head pre-camp, every shot I visualized throughout the camp and have been practicing through the camp landed tonight. And that's it. It's a beautiful feeling when the shot. It's a beautiful feeling when you hit the sweet spot.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start with Thomas Almeida, please. Obviously, a huge favorite coming into this night. Early struggles. What did you think about the fight as it was unfolding?
Você era o grande favorito aqui, mas deu duro ali no início. O que você achou da luta?
Bom, o Brad Pickett é um cara muito duro, tem a mão bem pesada, eu demorei para entrar na luta, para me sentir confortável, mas eu sabia que a hora que eu ficasse confortável eu ia nocautear ele.
Brad Pickett's a very tough guy. He's got heavy hands, and I took a little bit of a time to get into the fight, but I knew once I got into the fight that I would knock him out.
Spectacular finish with the flying knee, obviously a knockout of the year type candidate. Was that an adjustment that was made in between rounds that you knew that would be there, or was that something you just saw on the fly?
Joelhada fantástica. Foi alguma coisa que você ajustou ou você viu na hora ali que ia cair?
Eu treino bastante esse golpe na academia, mas eu já tinha analisado o jogo dele e sabia que ele ia cair bem confortável naquela situação.
I trained that at the gym all the time, but I studied his game plan and I saw that I could land that at any time in the fight.
And just lastly for you, obviously a very top prospect. With a performance like this, what do you want next? Do you want to move quickly up the ranks and get top ranked fighters, or do you feel like being as young as you are, there's still time to grow?
Quem que você quer pro próximo? Você acha que ainda tem lugar para você crescer ou você já quer lutar com o top 10?
Não, eu sou lutador do UFC, eu sou funcionário, o que eles mandarem eu vou estar bem preparado. Mas é aquilo, eu sou jovem, eu quero crescer, ganhar experiência e no futuro ser o dono do cinturão.
I'm a UFC fighter. I'll fight anyone they put in front of me, but I'm still very young, so I want to lead my way into the belt.
Thank you. If I could quickly for Chad, now that you're here. Chad, obviously, you deserve a lot of credit for stepping in on short notice. It was a great fight while it lasted. How did things play out versus your expectations? How did Conor feel in there versus what you thought you would see?
You know, I mean, I felt like I was doing great the first 2 rounds. You know, especially that second one, I was controlling the fight the whole time. But you know, I took a risk. I went for the submission. I probably should have just stayed there and kept throwing the elbows. But you know, I'm trying to finish the fight, and that's a risk you take, and that's the fight game. So he was able to get to his feet. You know, I was pretty damn tired, honestly, at the end of that round. You know, but I took that fight on short notice. That's the risk I was taking, and you know, I'd absolutely love to get back in there again with a full training camp and try that. So hopefully we can make that happen one day.
I know you don't like to make excuses or say anything, but you know there are people saying the stoppage with just a few seconds left in the round was premature. I know you probably haven't seen it yet, but what's your thought? Do you feel like you needed more time?
I mean, I'll have to see it. I have no idea, but you know, I remember getting back to the feet and just feeling tired. My feet were planted, you know, and that's the mistake I made. And Conor was able to stand there in front of me and tee off, you know, and you know that's the mistake I made, and I'll have to, you know, go back and watch. I don't know how fast, you know, the stoppage was or anything, but yeah, I mean, if Herb thought it was done, then it's done. You know, he's the ref. He's the one that makes that decision, not me.
Welcome to One on One with John Morgan, ladies and gentlemen.
Last question for you. I apologize. Last question. You have been in there now with Conor McGregor. You've been in there with Jose Aldo. We know they're fighting next. Can you be the first one to offer a prediction on that?
I'm just gonna say Jose is a different beast, man. He's a tough dude. So that's a fight that I'm looking forward to watching, but it's gonna be a good one.
Dana, first I wanted to ask you, you said this was trending bigger and we crushed everything on social media. Can you put some perspective on that? What do you actually mean by that? You know, you're trending bigger, how big were you trending?
Not technical enough for you? Crushed and bigger and
no, not technical enough.
Home run and all that stuff. So leading up to this week, all the numbers that we look at from pre-buys on pay-per-view, you know, pre-buys on you know, online, traffic Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on UFC.com. Obviously the gate, the list goes on and on. I mean, everything, analytically, everything that we look at leading up to a fight on Fight Week, it destroyed everything we've ever done. I mean, even the embedded series with Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor on the World Tour did like almost 14 million viewers, and this one crushed the one for the World Tour. So I mean, just in every way, shape, and form. Tonight on social media. So tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Monday, we'll have a complete report on everything that went on social media-wise, and this one has smoked anything we've ever done.
Do you think you exceeded 1 million on the pay-per-view?
It's looking good.
And-
Pay-per-view is looking good.
You know, you said it was a no-brainer for fight of the night for Lawler and McDonald. And obviously, it was a great fight. But you know, the Stevens and Bermudez fight was unbelievable. And
I
it was
agree.
Kind of.
I agree. But what I take into account in that fight, if you look at Rory McDonald, nose was broken in the first round. Couldn't breathe, couldn't see, continued to fight, right? And it's looking like a one-sided clinic. Then he hurts Robbie Lawler, right? Then he follows up with like 10 head kicks to the head and doesn't finish Lawler. Lawler hangs in there and makes it through that. Then I had it 2-2 going into the 5th round. The judges had it 3, and other people that I talked to in the back had it 3. I'm not a judge, so who gives a shit what I think. But I had it 2-2 going into the last round, but both guys had to feel like I have to win this last round. Both guys unbelievably hurt, and then you see the outcome.
What I want
Robbie Lawler's lip. If you could have been in the octagon and saw this lip, okay, he would talk, and this part of the lip would move, and the other part wouldn't, right? What's his name? Nose was broken. They asked him when Rory got out back. They said, "What year is it?" He didn't know what year it was. You know what I mean? It was a complete display. First of all, it was a war, and a complete display of chin, heart, grit, dogged determination, and the will to win from both guys. I mean, when you talk about fight, like I said, fight ever, that's what I'm talking about.
And I guess, you know, what my question was going to be was, this was such a great fight. There were so many great fights. Is this the greatest series of fights you ever saw, you know, starting with Almeida going one after the other after the other?
Yeah.
I mean, even Matt's fight was a
Yeah,
tremendous, you know.
the main card. And the first, the headliner on the prelims and the main card were without a doubt. Matt kicked it off, and then it just went boom, you know? And even, it's Almeida, you know, I've been talking this kid up for 2 weeks now, and, you know, Tyson was saying, I said, this kid's 19, I was telling Tyson about him, and Tyson's like, when he was over, he's like, you don't know how good a guy is till somebody drags him into deep water. That's the true test for a real fighter, and, you know, and you see how good he is, and obviously Almeida did.
And I just have 2 questions for Chad. Chad, in the first round, you know, he landed a couple shots on you. How heavy were his hands? You know, I mean, were his hands, you know, when you early in the fight, was he a heavy-handed guy?
I mean, I think more than anything, he's accurate, and I think that's what plays into the I guess the success he has with his punches. But I mean, nothing really was like overwhelmingly powerful, but I mean, he's got power, but like I said, he's more accurate, I'd say, than anything.
And then you touched on it a little bit when you talked about, you know, you decided to go for the finish as opposed to keep dropping the elbows. When you were dropping the elbows, could you feel him weakening? Did you feel like, you know, he was seriously hurt because he was cut from the eye, and you landed 3 or 4 really big ones? Did you feel like maybe he was weakening at all?
Yeah, I mean, I would think so, but I mean, you got to give it to him. The guy didn't stop talking shit the entire time. So, I mean, I was hitting him with everything I had, and the guy was still running his mouth. So, I mean, that's Conor, I guess.
Chad, what was some of the stuff that he was talking? Because you were right. I mean, throughout that fight, he kept talking to you. What was he saying?
I mean, I'd land a giant elbow on his face, and he'd say, "Is that all you got?" So just stuff like that.
And Matt, how important was it for you to end this 2-fight losing streak? And the way that first round was developing, were you looking that this was going to be a war, and maybe you needed to find some way to end it quickly?
I definitely expected it to be a war. I come in prepared for a war, and he was definitely prepared to deliver. Fortunately, he hit me with an elbow, and that woke me up. And nobody wants to trade elbows with me, I can promise you that, and he made that mistake.
Dana, given that McDonald fight and against Lawler was so good, does it beg for a trilogy like immediately, or what's your thoughts on what to do with Robbie next?
The problem for Robbie Lawler is McDonald is the next best guy there, and the rest of the division is going to have to get through him to try to get to Lawler, and so I mean, guys who know the fight business, been around for a long time, a fight like tonight can change it too. We'll see what Rory's got when he comes back, but right now he's the second baddest dude in the world at the 170-pound division. GSP? Yeah. That would be awesome. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying anything. Everybody will be writing. Dana said GSP's coming back.
Chad, just down here to your right. How did your fitness feel? You said that you were feeling a little tired as it went on. Did that change the way you approached the fight? Like, did you go for things sooner than you may normally would have, knowing or wondering if you had the fitness to go 5 full rounds? Did that impact the way you approached the fight?
I mean, no. I mean, honestly, I just try not to think about it. I know what I have to do, the game plan. I got to get in there and do it. But I mean, sometimes your mind's willing, but your body's not, and that's basically what happened tonight. But I mean, there's not a whole lot I can say about it other than Conor was a better man tonight, and I'd absolutely love to get back in there and fight that guy again with the full training camp under my belt. So we'll see.
Question for Thomas Almeida. I'm going to ask him in Portuguese. Derek can translate. Tominhas, aqui no meio. Tominhas, você ouviu agora o Dana White dizer que o Mike Tyson estava comentando sua luta. Imagino que você seja um grande fã dele. O que significa para você ouvir que o Tyson falou de você e aprovou sua vitória hoje?
Thomas, you heard Dana saying that Tyson was speaking about your fight, and you're obviously probably a fan of his. What does that mean to you to have him talk about your fight?
Bom, estou muito feliz. O Mike Tyson, desde que quando eu era criança, eu assistia as lutas dele. É o cara que fez eu começar a lutar. Então é um sonho realizado, assim, estar lutando em Las Vegas. E ainda mais poder tirar uma foto com o Mike Tyson, ele poder elogiar a performance da minha luta é maravilhoso.
I'm very happy. I was watching his fights when I was a kid, and to be able to have him watch my fight and be here in Vegas fighting in front of him and take a picture with him and knowing he's talking about my fight, that's wonderful.
Você disse também que foi tudo como planejado na luta, mas eu imagino que você não estava planejando tomar 2 knockdowns ali no primeiro round. Quão duro foram os knockdowns e quão difícil foi superar esse momento de adversidade?
You said everything went as planned in the fight, but you probably weren't planning to get knocked down twice in the first round. How hard was it to go through it and fight through the adversity?
Eu sabia que ele tinha a mão pesada, mas não tanto, né? Tanto que eu tomei os 2 knockdowns. Mas assim, na academia eu treino muito forte, treino muito focado, muito duro. Tenho outros parceiros de treino que batem tão forte quanto o sertanejo, o mineiro, o Alan por osso, todo o pessoal lá. Então, estou acostumado com sentir essa porrada, sentir essa pressão e poder dar a volta por cima.
I knew he had heavy hands, obviously not as much to knock me down twice, but I'm used to guys with heavy hands in the gym, so I knew that I could fight through it.
Dana, right over here. So as recently as a couple days ago, there still seems to be some indiscrepancy about the extent of Jose's injury from comments that you've made and then reports from doctors. How do you feel about Jose moving forward, and how do you really move forward with a fighter and a champion in particular that's maybe acting defiant and has sort of missed out on what's the biggest fight of the year, essentially?
Yeah, everything that was reported out there is complete bullshit, is what it is. And I'm not talking about Jose Aldo anymore because the despicable, I don't even know what to call them, that work in this business, that own some of these websites. It's one of these things where it's basically they lie about what I said, not what I said, turn it around, and then by the time it gets translated into Portuguese, it's even worse. You know what I mean? So it makes me sick, and I'm not going to say anything about Jose Aldo. I've never disrespected the guy in my life. I like Jose Aldo very much, his wife, his family, and I'm done. Not talking about Jose Aldo. When the Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor is ready, we'll let you know. Other than that, don't even ask me about him, his injury, or any of that shit, because there's a lot of people who just fucking lie, and I'm done with it.
Okay, fair enough.
Cool. And that wasn't directed at you, but unfortunately, sir, you're the one that asked me that question.
Fair enough. And then for Gunnar, obviously you came in now for the first time off a loss. Can you talk about the training camp and getting back on track to win this fight, and sort of how you responded after the last fight against Rick Story?
What's the question?
My question is, how did you prepare this time coming in off your first loss? It's something that you felt that's new.
Not too different from my other fights, There's some things that you work on for every fight, and there's a lot of things that I needed to work on after the Rick Story fight, We did that, and here I am.
Man of many words.
I guess I won't mention his name specifically, Dana, over here. But when do you expect to see that fight happening? When would you like to see it happen?
As soon as possible, obviously, we'd like to do that fight. But, you know, he just fought. You know, Jose is still recovering, so we'll see what happens.
Do you have any idea what the prognosis is, what the recovery timetable and anything like that? Is that another question? All right. On to the next one. Do you have any, you said 16,000 and change in attendance. It was reported before the fight, 2,500 Irish fans. It felt like a lot more than that.
Yeah. If you've ever been to the fight in Ireland, there's only 9,000 of them. Sounds like 90,000. It's without a doubt. I mean, there's places that you go like Brazil, even the UK. You know, if you've ever been to Manchester, you know, when we do fights there and Bisping's walking, it's crazy. There's nothing louder than the Irish. It's crazy. And I just thought when we were coming in here, I was telling all the Metro police officers, you boys are in for a long night tonight, let me tell you.
Do you have any indication at all in terms of like the viewership and the interest in Ireland?
In Ireland, yeah, we'll have those numbers next week.
Okay.
And the UK. Really big fight in the UK too.
Got it. And just a final question. If
Fun little
Conor,
fact, there's actually more Irish in the UK than there are in Ireland. So, big fight there too.
So you've called Ronda your top draw in the UFC. If Conor were to outdraw her tonight,
I never said she was a top draw. You're reading the wrong websites too.
I guess so.
What I said is she's one of the biggest stars in the UFC. Never said she was the biggest draw.
okay. If Conor were to outperform Rousey, would she be your biggest? Would she be your biggest draw? Would she be the most popular UFC draw?
If Rousey outdraws Conor,
I'm sorry. If Conor outdraws, like
Conor just outdrew everybody.
Yeah.
This is the biggest gate in U.S. history. 15 years of doing fights. This is the biggest gate ever. The gate was at 6.8 million, leading up to Aldo's injury. We brought in Chad, and then said that the fight was still on, and Chad took the fight, and this thing ended up getting up to almost $7.2 million. You know what I mean? The thing is that you have to understand here. I saw some anyway. Jose Aldo is the only champion in the history of this division, in the history of the UFC, right? He hasn't lost in 10 years. He's defended his title 7 times, right? So the question becomes, look how big this thing was with Chad in it. What would it have done with Jose versus Conor? You know what I mean? We couldn't sit another person in this thing. Every ticket was sold, and we even added bleachers. The biggest gate ever.
Thanks.
Question over here for Jeremy Stevens, right here. To a little back. There you go. Congratulations on a tremendous fight tonight. Any other night, this fight would have been fight of the night. You probably would have got performance of the night. But can you walk us through how this fight played out? And my second question is, what made you choose Eazy-E for your walk-in music?
Well, it's not any other night either. He didn't make weight either. You got to remember that he did not make weight.
That's right.
Yeah, I made a small mistake. I paid for it. You know, I have a family to take care of, and unfortunately, I couldn't do it healthy enough, and you know, I would have had it back out of the fight, but I wasn't going to do that. You know, this is the biggest gate, like Dana said here, and you know, I took my pay cut like a man. You know, it's my responsibility. I'm held accountable, and I'm just glad I got the win bonus. As far as the fight goes, that was a great fight. I knew Dennis was going to be tough. He's going to be durable. I was going to hit him, knock him down. He was going to keep coming, and eventually, I just had to take it from him. Go in there and just take his heart.
And the Eazy-E walkout music, what made you choose that?
Because he's a gangster.
Thanks.
And I concur. I like the Eazy-E choice too.
Dana, I have a two-part question on the presentation tonight. First, about the walkouts with Sinead and Aaron. Can you just take us into that process from when you thought, okay, this is something that we obviously probably started prior to Chad coming into the fight, but just the entire process of getting that done, because it was somewhat unprecedented for a UFC event.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, I'm sure you guys all saw. I mean, the Irish support the Irish like nothing you've ever seen before. And even last night, U2 played in concert, and on the whole back they had on their stage, the whole thing was lit up, Team McGregor, and they had Conor's picture, you know, while they played in concert. And Sinead O'Connor, I actually ended up calling Sinead O'Connor. I called her, and I said, "Have you ever heard of the UFC?" And and she said, "No, but I've heard of Conor McGregor." and we started talking, and she was absolutely in and wanted to do it. So once that happened, and then we were working on Rihanna for Jose Aldo. So once that all started, when I was talking about, I didn't answer this question either earlier, sorry, but what I never like about the entrances is always somebody walking out with a microphone with them, you know, and it's never, well, when we did it, we wanted to make it look more like the Grammys or something like that. And actually those lifts that we got tonight, those were from the Grammys. Those are like the only 2 lifts that exist. And the one that he was on lifted up like that too, but he had like 3 people playing with him, so we couldn't raise him. But if we were going to do it, we're going to do it right. So it was actually, I see why they walk out with a microphone in boxing, because it's super expensive and it's a lot of work. But that's the way we work, man. If we're going to do it, we want to do it right. So we wanted this thing to look great, to sound great. I mean, I don't know if any, I mean, you guys have all heard his walk-in song before Country, but it sounded like we plugged an iPod in. That's how good he sounded tonight. And then Sinead, her voice is just iconic and badass, and it came off great tonight. So,
Did you like the final product? Were you happy with it?
I was really happy with it. Listen, when you're mixing live music and fights and the crowd, the rowdiness of the crowd, and the energy and the noise that goes along with it, because at a concert, when somebody's singing, you don't scream at the top of your lungs through their entire song, like they do here. So to be able to pull that off, it's not as easy as it looks. And I mean, I'm sure everybody has their own opinion of how it looked tonight, but I was really happy with it.
And Chad, is it true that you only found out about Aaron being here today? And if so, how did you react to that?
No, I mean, I actually knew about that, I don't know, what, 5 days
Yeah,
ago, 6 days
like
ago?
a few days. So after he came in, obviously Jose and Rihanna are out. I started hunting down Aaron Lewis, who was on vacation with his family, and it took a few days. And then finally, I got him. I got the deal done, and then literally, I was at dinner and I called him and told him I literally just got this deal done.
What was your reaction?
That was something I'll never forget. That was badass. You know, Aaron is a guy that I've listened to for a long time when he was in Stain, and you know, I love all his country stuff now. And you know, to look back when I walked out and see him up there performing, that was unbelievable. It was cool.
And Matt Brown has been bitching that I won't let him walk into his death metal, kill your family music, and you know, so I caved on that too, and he got to walk into his song tonight, which I saw his wife, and she said, "Thank you for finally letting my husband walk into the music that he wants to listen to."
And sorry, just another quick one about the presentation, because the entire show looked different, at least Fight Pass and the pay-per-view. Can you just take us through that process as well? Like, when did you start working on that and come to the conclusion that you were going to unveil it tonight?
Yeah, we've been working on this for a long time, and you know, obviously the production, to take the production to the next level. And Gary Cook, who used to run Europe for us, you know, when he came over here, he's taking over brand management, and he built this team that started working on the brand. And I'm sure you guys saw the stuff, the changes to the UFC logo, and you know, all of it. Everything just sort of came together and blended together tonight, you know, with Reebok and the new look, all the new branding, and all the new things that we're working on, including, you know, the commercial for Conor and Aldo that we launched for this fight. And you know, it's been a long, hard process, and you know, not to mention the fact that we also were working on the drug testing thing, and we've literally been buried in the office in meetings for months, man, working on all this stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks.
A question for Dana White, over here to your right. This arguably was the greatest main card in UFC history. An argument could be made for that. It also coincided with the partnering with USADA and the new era of enhanced drug testing in the UFC. Is there an added sense of satisfaction for you that historically those two things will be linked, and this will not only look like one of the greatest main cards in history, but also one of the new, cleanest ones?
The new era, it's definitely the new era of the UFC. I mean, everything's different. I think that we've, you know, Reebok has unfairly taken a lot of heat over this thing. I think the uniforms look awesome. I think tonight they looked clean. At the weigh-ins, everybody looked. Oh yeah, and we didn't even talk about the weigh-ins. That was a whole new setup too at the weigh-ins, which I thought the team did a great job there too. But everybody looks clean. It looks good, you know, and in the long run, it's going to be good for everybody. It's going to work out for everybody. And I know, you know, there's a lot of talk about money and everything else. It'll all work itself out.
Speaking of spending a lot of money, you spent an unprecedented amount of money promoting this fight, which was originally going to be Conor McGregor and Jose Aldo. If you were to spend more money than that, promoting that eventual fight, doing it bigger, and that would be a tall order, realistically, how much lead time would you like to have on having that fight made before you start the promotional machine?
Well, we already went through it. I mean, I don't think there's anybody anywhere that doesn't know about Aldo and Conor, and I think tonight took it to another level, you know? And I think tonight, Conor's win over Chad is a badass, legit, you know, the #1 guy in the world. The only guy he's ever lost to was Jose Aldo. So I think that it just, when you put it all together, it takes that fight to a completely different level. And we're going to spend a ton of money again, but everybody knows.
Do you have an idea how long you would want, ideally, to start doing that?
It's going to depend on these guys, where they're at physically.
And to that end, a question for Chad Mendez. Chad, obviously that second round was all yours right up until the end. You had top control throughout. A lot of times a wrestler as accomplished as yourself, when he has top position, has a real feel for the opponent on bottom, particularly if it's an opponent who hasn't been tested that way before. Did he feel calm to you? He appeared to be calm throughout. Did you have a feel, as you would compare that to other opponents, how he was on bottom?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not going to sit here and talk trash about Conor. He won the fight, but, you know, I felt like I had complete control on top. You know, I felt like, you know, there wasn't a whole lot he could do when I was on top of him. You know, I made the mistake by trying to go for submission. I could have stayed there, and I probably should have, and just finished the round out like that. But, you know, that's the mistake I made, and that's just how it goes. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know what else you want from that.
Thank you.
Dan, we didn't have face-offs before the weigh-ins this time. This is going to be like how it's going to be from now on?
At the press conference?
Yeah.
No.
No more
No.
face-offs?
Normally I would answer this question and tell you the truth, but I'm not going to. No. The answer is no. We will face people off. I wasn't there, so we didn't do it.
And how big do you think Aldo against McGregor is going to be? Like, could you compare to Anderson and Sonnen 2, for example? How big do you think?
This was bigger than Anderson, Sonnen 2.
And how big do you think Aldo and McGregor, how much bigger is going to be, you think?
Yeah, bigger than this. This was bigger than Anderson, Sonnen 2. This was bigger than UFC 100. This was bigger than everything we did. I mean, even the weigh-in. Our weigh-in was the biggest weigh-in ever. You know, the weigh-in, everything. I mean, you just roll everything out and it was bigger, you know? And pay-per-view numbers are looking that way too. So I think, so if you have to ask me what I think the next one will be bigger, I think it's bigger than this.
Good evening, mate.
What's up, buddy?
Las Vegas has traditionally been a graveyard for British and Irish boxers and MMA fighters. Barry McGuigan, Frank Bruno, Ricky Hatton, Nazim Hamed, Michael Bisping at UFC 100.
Bisping's had some good ones here too, though.
But the big one, UFC 100, was a bad night from it. But the big fights for British and Irish fighters have never gone well here. Conor shifted the paradigm tonight, and I just wondered.
And last time.
And
Poirier
last time,
too.
but you've been looking for a while for a star to kind of ignite the whole of Europe. And is there a sense that, with obviously the travelling Irish are extraordinary with Conor McGregor, but is there a chance to use Conor now and his stardom and his charisma to build the sport in Europe with greater depth with Conor McGregor, if you think about it?
It's funny, we always get these questions like, it started with the, like, Chuck Liddell era. Chuck Liddell's going away, and da-da-da-da-da, and then there's Anderson Silva, and the list goes on and on of all the different guys that have come and gone, the Brock Lesnar's and the, you know, everybody's like, now what? Canada was off the charts when Georges St. Pierre ruled the world, you know. And in Brazil, when Brazil's cracking with big champions, Brazil is buzzing and they're doing, you know, 67 million people are watching on TV and all this stuff. guys, there's never going to not be stars. It's never going to happen. There's always a new guy who pops up from a new territory who is the baddest dude in the world, or perceived to be, or on his way to be, whatever it might be. And there's this fascination, this fascinating thing that happens with human beings. When you have a guy who looks like you, talks like you, and comes from where you come from, the world rally behind him, especially his home country. And when you have a guy like Conor who you know, has the charisma to spill over to a lot of other people, it becomes big. There's always going to be another tough guy coming up from somewhere, and that will ignite a market. And yes, Conor is definitely the guy right now for the UK and in Ireland.
And how enjoyable is it when someone creates theatre for you in the UFC,
Well,
and
it
not just
definitely
inside
doesn't
the
suck.
octagon, but outside?
I mean,
it?
it's not a bad thing. It definitely doesn't suck. And but I always say this. You know, people always ask me, I mean, what if you had a bunch of Conor McGregors and you had this and that? If we had a bunch of Conor McGregors, Conor McGregor wouldn't be fun. You know, you're going to have guys that have absolutely zero personality, but can fight their asses off. You can have guys like Conor who have the personality and can fight their ass off. You can have guys who are middle of the road, humble guys, which are most of the guys who fight in the UFC. There's always going to be different things, and I think that's what makes the sport fun, and that's what makes it entertaining. You know, not every guy is the same. Nobody's cookie cutter, and there's a little bit of something for everybody. Yeah, more people might follow a certain guy, but a lot of other people like different types of guys too. I actually think it's the perfect mix. And the only thing that I really care about is how good are you in the octagon? How good can you fight? That's all that matters to me.
Just a final question for Gunnar Nelson. Good evening. You know, it must have been very satisfying for you to win in the way you did. And what does it mean to you to win on this huge card in Las Vegas?
Means everything, you know. This has been our dream. I like the way the fight played out, and like everything about it, you know. It's great.
There's a perfect example, okay? Now, that is fascinating, right? There's something about every guy's personality that makes you like him, you know? When that guy grabs the mic, you're not expecting to hear some big, he's going to tell you exactly what he means, and that's it. Fucking fascinating. I love it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. What's
Dana,
next? Yep.
Dana, first thing, I like the new uniforms. I think they look good. I think
Thank
everything
you.
was
You're
going
to
to
get murdered on your way out of here,
That's
probably.
fine.
Yeah.
I didn't like all the dragons and fires and brass knuckles and skulls and shit.
Amen,
So-
brother. Amen. And the banners are gone. Thank
I like
God
the American
banners
flag,
are gone.
though. I like the American flag. Thank you. Where can you go when things get this big? I think the next problem is, well, yeah, you have the stadium built across the street, but are you guys now getting into Dallas Cowboys Stadium territory? Are you?
We've always been in Dallas Stadium if you have the right fight. I mean, it's all about the right fight, the right place, the right time. When you have that, we could go to Texas. We could do, you know, believe me, we've had a couple of fights where we're like, what do you think about Dallas, Texas? The problem is that it's really hard to leave Las Vegas. I mean, this place is the fight capital of the world for a reason. If you're a fight fan, and maybe even journalists, maybe you guys feel the same way. But when you come here, everything's right here in the hotel. You sleep upstairs, you come downstairs, you eat, you can do everything in the same building and go to the event. I mean, there's just something about Vegas that there's a reason that all the fights are here, man. And when you're talking about a 3 or like the UFC Fan Expo, you're coming in for maybe 4 or 5 days. Vegas is a pretty cool place to come for 4 or 5 days, you know? It beats you down and then you're ready to go home after you leave, you know? You're excited to get there and then you're really excited to leave.
And Chad, during your fight, you came out to booze, and then it was almost like a Rocky movie where people started to slowly go in your favor, and you started to hear chants. Did you in the cage hear that? Because in the stands, it was all boo, and then yay, and then Chad.
Yeah, I could definitely hear that during the fight. You know, when I was on top and I'd throw an elbow or something, I could hear the crowd go crazy. And, you know, that's something I fed off of. It's awesome, but just came up short, man.
Dana, you were talking about how happy you were with the production earlier on and how it's only going to get bigger from here. Do you think that having singers introduce the main event is something that the UFC will continue maybe 2 or 3 times a year in future?
And this was just, you know, tonight. Tonight was a night, you know, where we launched all these new things. and I gave it a shot. I wanted to try it and see how it would go, but I wanted to do it the right way. But it's it's expensive, man. It's really expensive, and you have to, you know, again, much like Dallas, Texas Stadium, you have to have the right fight to do it. But listen, you know, when things are good, I always want to give the fans the best, you know, the best product possible, and I always want to give the fighters, like, you know, when we go in the back and I talk to these guys after the weigh-ins and stuff, it's just, I love it so much, and I love what they do. I call us the bells and whistles. We do the bells and whistles, and then these guys go in and deliver. And like tonight, man, it's one of those nights where I said, I feel like we delivered and the fighters over-delivered. These guys just came in and just, it's awesome, man. And I don't know. I'm not saying I'd never do it again, because I think it went great, but it's tough to do. I was working on this thing. I spent more time working on that than I should have. You know what I mean? But I wanted it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to try it. I wanted to make it happen. It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work. And I got enough shit to do.
The last couple of months, and even if you want to say a year, when we're talking about a stadium show in Ireland, you've always just said a stadium. This year, or this week, you're actually saying the words Crow Park. Does this mean that something has happened in the last week or two, maybe in terms of the curfew, the issues that we're going to have?
No, nothing.
Or after seeing tonight, is pay-per-view
No,
essential?
not even considering any of that. I'm just one of these guys that I believe that we can do anything we want to do. Like, if we're determined enough to get it done, we can get it done. And obviously, I've told you many times, except for New York, I've told you guys many times that Croke Park's tough. It's a tough place to pull off, but we're determined to do it. I'm going to ask you guys, do any of you have any questions for the rest of the guys?
Yeah,
They've been here for a long time.
I had a question for Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.